Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us. My name is Amber Woods, and I work on the marketing team here at AgriWebb. We're just going to give it probably another minute or two just to let a few more people join. But thank you so much for all of those that were prompt and in the waiting room. Phil and I are really looking forward to the conversation this afternoon. While you are joining, I would love if you could just let us know where you're tuning in from in the chat box at the bottom of your screen. Got Andre from South Australia, Tina from down in Vic, Kate from Warwick. Looks like we've got a great selection, actually, people from all over. Thank you so much for those that are still joining. We're at 12:34 or 11:34 if you're in Queensland like Phil is, so we might jump into it. Thank you again so much for joining us this afternoon. In case you've just joined us, my name is Amber Woods and I work on the marketing team here at AgriWebb. I've been with AgriWebb for about 5.5 years now. I grew up at Taloona on the Queensland border in between Goondiwindi and Moree, and now I live out near Rowena in northwest New South Wales on a cropping property. So really loved my time at AgriWebb so far, and of course the flexibility to work from the farm is a big win for me. Today's webinar is going to be all about making paddock decisions on the go. So those of you that are existing customers will know a big focus of ours is really trying to make our producers' day-to-day lives a lot easier and just simplify record keeping and really make it so that you do have all the records that you could possibly need in the palm of your hands, in your phone or tablet. So we're really lucky to be joined by Phil Coe today, who is a long-time customer of ours. We were actually just having a conversation that he first joined us in 2018, March, I think you said, Phil. I had 2021 and he was quick to correct me on that. So certainly an early adopter of AgriWebb and really excited to have him on the call this afternoon. Before I do get into introducing Phil, I just wanted to do some quick little housewarming bits. So most of you have found the chat box, which is great, but we do also have a Q&A at the bottom of your screen. As we move throughout the session, I'm sure there's going to be some incredible insights from the conversation with Phil, and of course would love you to send through any questions that you do have for Phil. If we don't get to them during the session, I promise that I will follow up and get some responses to you this afternoon. And on that note, we will be sharing the recording of this session around this afternoon as well. So if you do wish to watch it again or share it around with friends and family, please feel free to do so. You'll get that by about 3 o'clock this afternoon. So I'm just going to quickly move into our agenda. Basically today, the plan is really to have quite a candid conversation. Phil's been really generous in giving up his afternoon. He's had an incredibly hectic few weeks, like so many of you have, with harvest and getting cattle in while the prices are good. And he said he's finally had an afternoon off, and I'm feeling a bit guilty now that we've made him join an AgriWebb webinar, but hoping just that we can have a really sort of casual and candid conversation about his experience with AgriWebb over the past few years, and of course how he's using AgriWebb to make paddock decisions on the go. And then we will finish up with a quick Q&A. So as I said, if you do have questions as we're moving throughout the session, please feel free to send them through. Before I jump into the quotes on the screen, I did just want to do a quick introduction to Phil. So Phil's based in Geelong, which is in South Queensland, on his family property. And as I said earlier, he's been a customer of ours since March 2018. and has been incredibly sort of generous with his time and feedback on the product over the years. And he's certainly a fan favorite amongst our product team. Not that we have favorites, of course, but he's always incredibly generous in sharing really in-depth feedback and on all of our new features and updates. And of course, we really thrive on receiving that kind of feedback from our customers, and we really cherish it because it really is the only way that we're going to make sure that we are delivering the best possible product for all of our producers and improving that product all the time as well to make sure that we're delivering value. So Phil actually originally started when he joined AgriWebb in 2018. He was using our mob product, but he moved across to our IM product, and we're thinking it must have been around August 2021. I think we've figured out. So certainly been using the individual animal management product for a few years now. And he is on our performance plan, which is our top tier plan. And obviously got a background in beef production and the cropping side of things as well. And, as far as we're aware, we really consider him to be a very practical and paddock first kind of management, having a paddock first management approach. And so that's why we thought he'd be really perfect for today's conversation. So thank you so much for joining us, Phil.
Yeah, no worries. Thanks, Amber.
Before we jump into the discussion this afternoon, I just wanted to share a few of these quotes, which I know Phil will not be comfortable with at all. I'm sure it's not a nice feeling having your words plastered on the big screen like this, Phil, but I just pulled a few. Obviously, Phil's been a customer of ours for many years now, and as I said, he has always been really generous with sharing these insights, but just to kind of give you a bit of an idea of the way that he uses the products and the things that he really values. So the first one was actually really recent feedback he shared, I think this week, or maybe it was even last week, via our customer survey, and really just speaking about the fact that AgriWebb is an all-in-one package, which covers all enterprises. He finds it easy to navigate and use, enjoys the reporting tools, the audit side of things, and the support is excellent. And the second quote, I was joking with Phil earlier that I think I've pretty well rinsed the first half of this quote since he gave it to me. I think it would have been about 2021 actually, but just that AgriWebb pays for itself and the time it saves. And I remember in that conversation, Phil mentioned that he used to, before AgriWebb, would spend so much time putting data, out of hardware into his computer or out of, paper records into Excel spreadsheets. That by the time he'd finished that process, he was usually pretty over it and didn't actually spend much time analyzing the data or making decisions based on that data. And so AgriWebb's been a solve for that problem as well. And then the third one was just around the cost. Phil joked that it was basically the same price as a phone plan, and just the real value of having all of your farm data on your phone or tablet, so that you are able to make decisions anywhere, anytime. And then the final piece is kind of along the same vein that I've mentioned earlier, just that he really appreciates that we've been able to involve him in the implementation of new ideas and, of course, the development of the individual animal management system. Phil would have been one of the first people to adopt that system when we launched it in 2021, I believe it was. And we would really echo that sentiment that we, as I said earlier, find it incredibly valuable to have customers that are willing to try new things and kind of come along with the journey of us and iterate on our product to help us grow. So I'm going to stop sharing my screen now, Phil. Before we move into kind of the questioning, Phil, I did just want to share across kind of a few of the key points that we're hoping to get across today, and really why we're having this discussion around making decisions on the go, and why that's so important to producers like Phil. And so kind of the key points really are around seasonal and operational complexity increasing every single year, the power of being able to make timely decisions being a major productivity driver on operations, particularly livestock operations. The fact that having multiple teammates, family members, sometimes multiple properties, and even if you are off farm, Phil isn't, but if you are, how those factors can all kind of increase the risk of missteps. And then finally, just having accurate data and real-time visibility and how this makes decision making faster and safer, and really gives you more confidence as the decision maker. And so to kind of segue into our discussion with Phil, um, really excited to have a chat with you now, Phil, and talk about how we're simplifying day-to-day decisions for you guys and Cooey Farms, and when you're actually out in the paddock, and keeping you out of the office as much as possible, because I know you do not like to spend too much time in the office, Phil.
No, well, I deliberately don't have an air-conditioned office, so I got a good reason to stay on the paddock here.
That's very clever. Before we do jump in, Phil, I was hoping that you might be able to just tell those that are on the call today just a little quick overview of your operation type, maybe your annual rainfall, who makes up your team, and yeah, kind of, and what's happening on farm at the moment and how the season is.
Yeah, okay. Well, we're a family-owned and operated business. We're an EU operation, so we've got a breeding herd, and we generally grow out their offspring to feeder weights and sell them through Auctions Plus, usually in November. So they're weaned in April, May, and then sold generally, depending on the season and what feed we have, but generally before Christmas. Sometimes we'll hold some of the um, different breeds we've got. We use Belmont Red crossbreeders mainly, and then Angus Terminal Sire. So our market options are fairly open. And then the breeders that are empty, we finish on silage and send direct to works. It seems to be a good value add there. So that's sort of the breeding operation. We are a zero-till cropping enterprise as well. So we grow mung beans and sorghum in summertime, a little bit of seed production for Barrenbrug, forage sorghum seed. We've been doing that for a lot of years. And we grow wheat and barley in winter, and some multi-species as well, just for some grazing and keeping cover on our zero-till country when it's not generally being cropped. So that's pretty well, that's a quick oversight of what happens here. I have two sons now that are home at the moment. One's definitely here for the long term. The other one I'm not sure yet, but he's still very keen. And the third fella, he's actually helping at the moment between jobs, but he's not the farmer, so that's fine. Two's going to be plenty, I think. And we also have a couple of part-time employees as well when we need them. So AgriWebb has been really helpful, especially with the boys being younger generation. They've taken up the app really quickly and have understood it quite easily. So when they do a spray operation in the paddock, or if they're harvesting and they have to enter data, it's just nice and simple for them. They whack it in there, and I know they're going to do it, and I can jump on my phone and make sure it looks right, and that's the important thing. They get it into it, and because it's so easy to use, they are using it every day. One fella likes the cattle more, so he generally does a lot of the mineral supplement runs and things like that. So we use the mapping to identify if we move feeders around the place for supplements. So I can jump on the map and show him, instead of driving around half a day with him the first time, I can just jump on the map and show him where we've put all our feeders and if I've shifted them, and he doesn't know that I've shifted them. So the mapping-based program has been really good for that, and you just jump on your phone and look at it. There's been a lot of different uses I've had with AgriWebb over the years, and I think just that saving of time, so I can do an analysis on all the data that's coming in. I don't have to worry about spending time, like Amber said earlier, entering data, and then you get so sick of entering data on a computer that you just lose interest and you don't even want to analyze it then. So AgriWebb has really helped me out there and allowed me to get some really good feedback on how my cattle are doing in the paddock, just by we weigh regularly, and I've purchased an Opti weigh recently too, which I can also download weights into the system, and it's I found it quite accurate. So we have a fairly good idea of what our stock are doing and whether we should be looking at moving them on, selling them, or whether we can hold them. With the MAP program, it's excellent because if I go out and do a water run or just checking cattle, I can look at my feed availability. I can jump on the app and it just tells me how many days cattle have been in a paddock or how many days I've budgeted to have them in there. And then I can just make sure that that's still running to plan. And I can also look at the paddocks that are available and how long each paddock's been locked up for. And it's just been really handy for that sort of thing, just that day-to-day management. It just takes the guesswork out of it. You can look at paddocks and you can say, oh, well, this one looks better than that one. And the coverage is so much better or something, but then you'll find that, okay, we had more stock on it at a certain date and that's why it's like it is, or it's lacking. So just being able to pull that data up off my phone whenever I want has been really handy. It just takes the guesswork out of it. And I think that's helped too. I've jumped in with their rotational planner recently and I've let it, when we've been harvesting and busy, I've let it slip a little bit and it keeps sending me reminders saying you haven't shifted this mob of cattle yet. But I know I usually allow for that, give it a bit of breathing space so that I don't have to be shifting them on the particular date. I can give or take a few days, or if it's a smaller mob, it might even blow out to a week. But their rotational plan has been really good with that too, because it just sends me a reminder if I get busy with the cropping side of things, and one of the boys then can go and move cattle, or they'll see it come up on their phone and they'll remind me if I miss it, or they'll just go and do it. So everybody knows the plan and where cattle are moving and what's happening with that sort of things. And then the cropping side, similar. Like we've got all the data there. Whenever we do a paddock operation, it's always entered into AgriWebb, so we know what money we've spent. And we used to just put it on a spreadsheet. I did use a number of other apps over the years and software programs on my computer, but none of them have come close to AgriWebb in its mobility. I think that's the big thing. There's been some really good software out there, and especially with cropping, and there is better cropping ones, but as a general program that incorporates everything, cattle and cropping, AgriWebb was hard to go past, and it's nice to have everything on one app. And that's why we like AgriWebb. We don't have to be opening and closing different apps and using two different systems. And when you're trying to work out how many days you've got, if you do decide to graze one of your paddocks after you harvest, if it's dry enough and you're not going to get any tramping, we can put that as a value then to the cropping enterprise, and just that also helps us keep a bit better data on what actual value we're getting out of the stubble if we do graze it as well. So I think that's a quick overview of what are some of the things we use it for. I mean, it's the individual animal management is another level, of course, and we just did a number of cattle through the yard in the last few days, getting them ready to go on Auctions Plus later this week, and just the access to be able to draft into so many different mobs and weights and breeds. It's just so easy with the individual animal management in the live sessions in the yard. I've found it very valuable. In the past, we've had to do it the long way around and sort your cattle and then have your numbers and then come back and enter them onto your computer to get your feedback. Whereas now, straight away, you've got it on your phone. You know exactly your heaviest, lightest, your average weight gain for the last so many days. Or any data you need, it's there as soon as you finish a live session. And cattle buyers seem to be happy too. They don't have to be writing as much down as they used to. I just either email them the data at the end of the session, or they usually just write it down anyway. That's the way they operate. But it's been a great system, the individual animal management, and it's evolving all the time. And I've just had a look at their new layout, which is looking really good. And like one of my quotes said there, I think earlier, Amber was saying that one thing I liked about it was the way AgriWebb continually develop the program, and they take note of the producer. And I know there's a lot of producers out there that are giving them good feedback, and that's why the app is so user friendly. I think is because they're taking note of what the producer wants, and that's been invaluable to us in saving time in the paddock and in the end office. Yeah. So yeah, I use the mapping, of course, for measuring tool if I'm out and about, and I just want to put a new fence up, and I think, oh well, I want to go here to here, and just jump on there, do a measure, and know exactly how long the fence line has to be, and I don't even have to come back and use a mapping program on my computer or anything. I can know straight away, and I can tell the boys, okay, we need this many posts for a job, or whatever. So there's a lot of little things like that, and that's not even getting into tasks. There's the task part of things are really good too. I hope I'm not rushing through this, but there's just so many good things on there that you just don't always use to the maximum. But I know a lot of them, some people use a great deal, and other things on there they don't. But that's the beauty of it. You use what you need to, and leave behind what you don't. It's not causing a drama. And my agronomist is always happy when I can give them some accurate paddock areas, and I can show them on my map on my phone if they're not sure of a paddock they want to go and check or something. So there's just so many good things about having a good mobile app on your phone. And AgriWebb sort of been ticking the boxes for me, and been really happy with them.
That's great. Thank you so much, Phil. That was an excellent intro, and you were skipping through a lot of my questions, but you're a seasoned webinar guest, obviously, because you're a natural. On the note of your agronomist, we need to get your agronomist map-only access, possibly, so that they can have access as well. So we can definitely sort that out for you if you don't have that up and running already. But I was curious, you kind of spoke earlier about removing the guesswork and how it can be a little tricky balancing instinct with and experience with kind of the data that a software solution like AgriWebb is putting in front of you. So I'm curious about how you do balance, I guess, your instinct and experience with the data that AgriWebb is giving back to you, level of data.
Yeah, I guess when you'll do a feed budget, say, and do a bit of a rotational plan with your cattle. This is an example, I guess, and it's always hard. Like, you can go out in a paddock and have a look at the feed coverage, and you on the historical data. I think that's what I use a lot of, is go back through my AgriWebb and use a lot of historical data. So I know when we've had so much rain, so many mil of rain at a certain particular time of the year, we can get so many stock days out of a particular paddock, especially when we're talking Lagina. And if I want to do a bit of a plan and manage the cattle to be in a certain paddock closer to the yards, or for a management practice, say with the breeders, it's probably more so with the breeders because they're a little bit harder to access yards at certain times with little calves. So if you manage your paddocks so that feed availability is ahead of you, and then they end up very close to the yards at branding time when the calves aren't that big, it just makes life easier. So I guess putting that, I don't know if that's what you mean, Amber, like if you mean that sort of thing, how it's helped, or is that right? Or am I going off track here?
No, you're perfect. Yep, that's spot on. I guess it's being able to use the insights that AgriWebb gives you. And obviously, as you mentioned, we do have paddock histories as well as livestock history. So you can really scroll back and use the data in front of you, rather than trying to rack your brain to go back to 2018, for example, or 2021, and have a think about what certain weather events or whatever it was, how they impacted your operation. And your productivity, you have that right in front of you.
Yeah, no, it's been really handy. And sometimes when I do a feed budget, it doesn't always come out like what you'd think was there. So your utilisation might be a lot less than you think because there's more tramping there. And so by putting that information into AgriWebb, it's allowed me to get a little bit more accurate than I would have normally. Because the first time I started using feed budgeting on there, I was way out, and you'd think, oh yeah, I've got say 20 days of feed for 500 weaners or something in that paddock or something like that. At the end of the day, you only had 20 days. 10 days, and it's only because you forget to factor in the utilisation and what's left behind and little things like that. So I found that the historical data and how many days grazed at so many LSUs and that it's allowed me to get more accurate predicted days of what feed I've got in paddocks. So when I do my rotational planner, it just makes it more gettable or more attainable, and it, without running into trouble and running out of feed before a certain date. So if you're aiming to sell at a certain date and you know you've had so many mil of rain, you know you can get to that point with that many head. Whereas before it was, I seem to always be running a little bit out and either running short of feed or selling them sooner than I probably needed to. So it's just helped with that guesswork. It's got it more accurate for me just by going back through old data and comparing it with what I see in the paddock visually as myself as well, because I think it's important that we get across the paddocks and look at it. You can't just look at a satellite image and think, okay, you've got this much feed there, because it's not like that. It never is. And if you get on the ground yourself and you visualize it, and then you look at your data that you've had previously and what stock have grazed those paddocks, it's a lot more accurate than looking at anything else. It's good to have all these other tools, but like everything, it all costs money. And it's just a balancing act of what you're going to get a payback from. If you think you'll get a payback from something like the way I've got payback from individual animal management, it's well worth it.
Awesome. Thank you, Phil. The next question I had, and we've sort of spoken about it here, is just, when something does change in the paddock, for example, I know this weekend there's meant to be a bit of rain, at least out here, or if you're not getting enough rain, you don't have enough feed, like you just mentioned in that example. How do you communicate those decisions to the team? I know earlier you mentioned tasks, but given you do have a couple of sons home at the moment, and at any period of time, you could have a few contract employees as well. If something does change out in the paddock, how are you communicating those decisions that need to be made with your team so that everyone stays on the same page?
Well, generally, we still just face-to-face discuss these things. But the good part is they know they can jump on the app and have a look, and that just gives them that backup of knowing exactly where I want to go with the cattle next, and then they understand the reasoning behind it. They know what feed we've got ahead of us, because they can open it up and all that information's in there. And if I drop dead tomorrow, they can keep operating without any dramas. So they haven't been home long, so they're still learning. And I think all young fellas think they know everything, but it's surprising. It's nice. They still, if I'm away for a day or something, it's still nice if they give me a call on the phone to ask me a question about something, and you feel like you're still needed. So that's really good. And I think that's it. That face-to-face is still very important, but it works in well with the app, because they can then, if I'm away, they can just jump on the app, look at it, and they go, oh, yeah, this is what the silly old bugger was talking about, and this is what we're going to do. He's not here. And so, no, it works that way. I mean, I do still put some tasks up there, and they can open that up, and they know exactly a pinpoint if they've got to go and do something in a particular place, or if they've got to move cattle, they can see the rotational planner, and they know what's happening there. And it's just a backup by talking to them face to face. They understand it better. And when you're talking to them, if they've got an understanding. Whereas if you're just messaging them through the app or something like that, you can't see that vacant look if they don't understand you. So it's always handy to talk to them face to face, especially at the start of the day when you're trying to organise everything. But then they're quite happy. Then they go off and they're happy. They'll enter whatever they need to on the app as the day goes on, and if they've got any issues, they usually talk to me about it. because one of them's only been using AgriWebb for the last 6 months or so, whereas the other fellow's been using it a couple of years. So he probably knows as much as me now.
I'm actually intrigued, Phil, just while you're on that topic of, your son's coming home, and I'm curious more for myself than anything if you notice any differences in how the next generation likes receiving instructions and information, maybe compared to how things were when you first started out.
Yeah, well, I think generally they don't usually ring you. Usually they'll just message you, and it's usually something that's pretty simple. So they do like messaging better than talking, which is fine. I suppose I'm a little old school, so I'd like that face-to-face chat, especially when we're organising things and making sure everybody's on the same page. But they're very much digital, so they love the fact that you can send them information without talking to them. You can either send them a message and say, look on AgriWebb on this, and then you'll know what to do, or you'll see what movements we've had, or past history if you're looking something up, and especially with the cropping side of things, when they're trying to work out if they're filling out a vendor deck or something like that for grain and they needed to know harvest dates, planting dates, and all those sort of things. They just jump on there and it's all there, or they just go in on the computer and get the reports up. You can find them either way, either through your phone or on a report. And I did an audit, cattle care, grain care audit the other day, and there's no real benefit of doing them in a lot of ways. Like people say, why do you still do a cattle care audit? You're just paying an auditor to audit you, but there's no market advantage there. But I still do it because it keeps me on my toes with all that information and making sure I'm keeping all my data up to date. And they usually have any changes in the system, they soon let you know about. And I guess because we're EU accredited, there's a few more hoops you've got to jump through and be careful of, and they just remind you of that each year and make sure you're on the right page there. So I think the auditing side has been good, and the boys see that has been a positive too, because we're keeping all our book work up to date, and that just helps when they want to chase up data. They know it's going to be there because we just do it religiously.
And you've found that AgriWebb has made that auditing process or parts of it smoother?
Yeah, it's made it smoother, definitely. There's a couple of things with cropping that they've asked me in the past, and I thought I'd just jump on a report and pull that up. But the information they were after wasn't on the report. I had to actually go back in history and dig it up through the history. So there's, but that's like anything. I know this AgriWebb started as an animal based program, and I'm fully aware of that, and I appreciate how they have developed the cropping side of things in the last few years, and it's in a position now where it is very handy. We still use MyOps Centre with John Deere, where our machines do talk to the cloud, and then if you've got all your information there, it's not hard to then pull up a report and enter what data we want to on AgriWebb to get a margin, or to put it in comparison to our cattle side of things in AgriWebb. So the MyOps Centre is a lot more detailed and a lot more information there, but it's good because I can just pull that out and put it on AgriWebb if I've got time at night, or if somebody forgets to do it in the paddock when they finish an operation.
Perfect. We've just got a couple more questions. I know this is a lunchtime session, so we won't keep you all for too long, but I guess before we go into questions, Phil, based on your experience with AgriWebb over the years, and obviously you've used a number of kind of different platforms and softwares over the years as well, outside of AgriWebb, if you could change just one habit on most farms to improve productivity, what do you think it would be?
Oh, I think it's got to be hands down just not overgrazing, and I think part of that is just giving paddocks the amount of rest they need for the rainfall you get, and I think that's where a lot of people slip. I mean, you can do that without keeping too many records. If you're a very visual person, I know you can do it, but it's nice if you've got that that data there so that you can get a bit of historical information that you can work with, and I think that'd help a lot of people. Just knowing their day's rest and number of days grazed for so many head, their carrying capacity compared to their stocking rates, that'd improve their country, and I think that's where we've gained a lot. Yeah.
Unreal. And then just two more questions for you, Phil. Next question would be what your advice for producers would be who still maybe feel a little bit stuck, using more traditional methods of record keeping, such as a whiteboard in the sheds or a notebook, or maybe they're writing their records on the windscreen of their ute with a whiteboard marker. If people are kind of stuck there, what would your advice be just to try and get them to move towards a digital platform like AgriWebb?
Yeah, that's a hard one. I mean, everybody's got their own likes and dislikes with things, and digital isn't for everybody, I guess. And I totally understand that. I think in my own situation, I can only talk from my own situation. When I first started out with digital, I think that mob base is really valuable if you don't want too much data, it still gives you the basic data that you need. If you don't need individual animal management, you don't want individual records, that's fine. But I still would, even if I wasn't a digital person, did find that the mob-based, anything to do with mob-based programs were really, really handy, because it just makes life easier. It saves you a lot of time. And nowadays we all have to do, if we don't do a cattle care or grain care audit, we have to do an LPA audit. So they're not a regular thing, but they can just pop up whenever. So it just makes life easier for you. That'd be the only reason I'd be definitely changing from a more traditional system. I know not everybody likes the idea of information being held in clouds and not being totally their property anymore. But unfortunately, we're in that society where I think everything we use now, we don't have much choice. I suppose we've all got a choice, but I think that's it. Just what I said before about just the mob base just makes life easier. Yeah.
A good place to start if you're looking to kind of dip your toe in, not as, I guess, intense as the individual process, and maybe a smoother transition into digital record keeping for sure.
Yeah.
Amazing. And then my last question for you, Phil, before we move into some Q&A, and I did just do a call out in the chat. If you do have any questions for Phil, it's not often that we get a long-time customer of AgriWebb on a webinar, and it'll be our last customer webinar for the year. So if you do have any questions, please drop them in the chat or the Q&A now. But my last question for you, Phil, was just where do you think the biggest efficiency gains will come from in the next 5 years on your operation?
Yeah, efficiency. That's I suppose I've got a lot of efficiency gains already. I think it's just fine tuning some of the things on, especially the cropping side of things. I think the cattle side of things we've fine tuned pretty well, and there's things out there that are going to definitely help. But I think at the moment, because we've got a OptiWay system now that we can put with our feeder type or weaners, we can just keep monitoring them all the time without having to get them into the yard. So now linking that to AgriWebb has been really handy. Maybe it'll become something that'll be a little bit seamless. We might be able to do it in a live sort of a way, if you know what I mean, without me having to download into a Excel spreadsheet and then uploading it to AgriWebb. There's little things like that that'll make life a bit more efficient. And then you've got that data on your phone. You can be in the paddock, you just open it up and you know exactly how each animal's going, if they've been weighing themselves. And generally we're getting over 50 to 60 days, usually we get about 70% of the animals go across the OptiWay, which gives you pretty handy figures. Not everyone's going to go over there, but that's just one of the efficiencies. And then the cropping side, I think I know AgriWebb can develop more there. There's going to be a few more efficiencies to be made there with some of our reporting and margin reporting that we get back just to compare enterprises.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you, Phil. And I know Jess and the rest of the product team will certainly keep on taking your feedback, particularly around the Optiway integration, which I know is a request for a few of our customers. And of course, around, continuing to develop our cropping side of the product as well. So I appreciate your feedback and insights as always. And thank you so much for responding to all of those questions so thoughtfully. I was taking a few notes as we moved through, and I really feel like the key takeaways, for how you've been able to, I guess, yeah, improve efficiencies and really make some paddock decisions on the go of just being around the power of having real-time data in the palm of your hands and just allowing you to make more informed, faster decisions. The power of having kind of those mobile or digital workflows, just to, yeah, remove the guesswork, as you said. And then, of course, with having your sons home now and a few other teammates, it sounds like just the power of having kind of a connected platform and just one place that you can all go to get the information that you need. So thank you so much, and definitely love seeing you using so much of the product. I know you say you don't use much of it, but certainly excellent seeing you uncovering more and more. And I'm hoping that you can see these photos now. These are some pics that we got last year. I think this was your birthday lunch, actually, Phil, when the team saw you. Where were they? In Toowoomba, maybe? And they took you out for lunch afterwards. And then I'm assuming these are your dogs. This was in your file.
Yeah, no, just a couple of dogs. Actually, one of my son's dogs. Yeah, that one
Beautiful.
fella loves putting hats and caps on them, and I thought, oh, that's a good picture, so I sent it through just for interest sake more than anything.
No, it's beautiful. I love that photo and beautiful doggies. Well, thank you again so much, Phil, for your time. I really appreciate it. Thank you to everyone on the call. Before you all jump off, I did just want to call out that we do have our Black Friday sale running at the moment. So this is our biggest sale of the year, and it does apply for new customers and then also existing customers. If you were looking to upgrade your plan to the compliance or performance package, now is a really good time to do that. You'll save 40% on your first year with us. So you can reach out to the sales team or the support team, and they'll be able to help you out there. But if you are intrigued of what those savings might look like, just jump onto our pricing page at agrib.com/pricing, and you can pop in your animal numbers and you'll see the discounted price there. And as a reminder, Phil is using our performance package, which is our top package, the individual animal management performance. So that is all from me. Thank you so much, everyone, for joining us this afternoon. We really appreciate you giving up your lunch break. And yeah, as I said, this is our last customer webinar for the year. So thank you so much, Phil, for rounding us out. We will have a December webinar as well in a couple of weeks' time. So hopefully we'll see many of you on the call. Thank you so much, Phil. Thanks, guys.
No worries. Thank you.